There's something out there. It goes by many names: Sasquatch, Oma, Bukwas, Bigfoot. Considered a myth by some and real by others, it's thought to be either a primitive human or some kind of primate. Most people don't believe it exists at all, but it's oh too real to those who have seen it, and seeing is believing. It's a life-changing event for those who glimpse the rare beast, from a simple change in attitude of our place in the world to lifelong quests to seek out the animal, as it was for Esther Schroeder. Esther is a Bigfoot researcher. She spends most of her off time searching for the creature. Weekends spent camping and walking the forests of America, looking for signs and evidence of the animal. Her travels have taken her deep into the Pacific Northwest and into southern states. She's been looking for over 20 years, and as a child, she saw one near her home in Oklahoma.
I was probably 3 or 4. I was sitting in my high chair in the dining room. There was the door behind me and then a window right beside me. And we had these old ivory colored drapes, and there was a gap showing through. And I happened to look over. It was night. I don't know if it was before supper or after supper. And I looked out, and the ugliest face I'd ever seen in my life with hair on it was looking back in at me. It reminded me of probably the ugliest person I'd ever seen because it had the humanistic traits. I'd say 3 or 4, because I was still sitting in a high chair. And I screamed monster, and my brother and my dad got up with the gun and ran outside, and there was nothing there.
At this young age, Esther was terrified of what she saw peering in at her through the kitchen window. It would launch a lifelong quest to face her demons and discover what is lurking in the forests of America. Though many ridicule people who have had such encounters, the emotional toll they take on witnesses cannot be denied. As Esther grew up in Payne County, Oklahoma, she had other encounters with the thing in the woods.
Next thing I really remembered was my best friend. I might have been about 8 or 9, and she came to spend the night, and it was in the winter time, and their pond was iced over, and we decided to go slide on the pond. And I had a little dog at the time called Hot Dog. He was just a mutt. He was standing up on the dam and looking at something on the other side of the dam, because the creek bottoms was right below that dam. You know, his hair stood up and he was growling. And Renee was my friend's name. Well, me and her ran over. We were gonna see what the dog was growling at. And all of a sudden, we get the loudest, most horrendous siren-type scream that you'd ever heard. And we took off running. The dog was right on our tail, and the dog had its tail between its legs and kept looking back. And we ran all the way back to the house. And, well, needless to say, my best friend never spent the night with me again, because she said that we had monsters.
Esther never associated the monsters in her life with Bigfoot. With no one to talk to about her encounters and no information about the creatures, she became more reserved and fearful of the night.
At the time, I didn't know what Bigfoot was, Sasquatch. I don't remember when I watched the movie Legend of Boggy Creek, but the description that they described on it was what I related it to from then on. I can remember several nights that I'd look out the window, my bedroom window, and we were upstairs, and something was on our porch looking in, something big, and I couldn't tell you what how old I was then, but it'd be every so often. But I was just scared a lot. You know, I didn't want to sleep by the windows anymore. I found a nice quiet corner somewhere.
With age comes maturity, and as Esther became a teenager, she gathered the nerve to venture into the woods surrounding her house, sometimes even camping out. It was then she found the first physical evidence of the creatures in the woods.
When I was 12, I think I played in a nest or a shelter. I was fearless at the age of 12 and did a lot of camping out on our property or my uncle's property, which was right across the road. We both had 160 acres with the same 3 creeks running through it. I found this one area. It was real close to the road along our fence line and close to the first creek. You know, to look at it, it just looked like a whole bunch of green briars grown up in about a set of 5 trees, 5, maybe 6 trees that was kind of in a circle. There was a tunnel that led through there. And I got on my hands and knees and went in about 3 to 4 or 5 foot. And then it opened up and it reminded me of an igloo on the inside. You know, it just opened up into a big room. There was like Johnson grass, which was this, I don't know, it kind of reminds you of prairie hay or something, or wheat, wild wheat or something. Everybody chews on it. You know, it looked like something had been bedding in there. And with me not knowing anything at the time, and there was like 3 areas of peepholes. One looked directly over the creek, one looked over the road, and then the other one looked directly at our house. And you wouldn't notice it from the outside either. You know, something to camp out there all the time. Crazy kids.
At 17, Esther would have the most frightful encounter of her life with a creature. On a dark night and home alone, the creature paid her another visit.
And I was almost 17. One night I was sitting watching TV and I kept hearing some noises outside the house, banging noises and stuff. I turned the TV, turned off all the lights inside the house, and turned on the outside lights. We had one in the same dining room area and one in the back, which had the back side of the house lit up pretty good. I kind of crawled on my belly to look up in the same window that I had the sighting as a child, and it was unbelievable. There was a hairy man-like creature standing out there, but its shoulders come up to our door frame, and it was hunched over, and the doorknob was wiggling, and we had no locks on the door, and there was no screen on that particular door. I got up real fast, ran through the back door to the back door where the car was parked, and instead of backing up like normally, I just drove through the yard, and the thing crossed in front of the car, headed down toward the creek, and I headed for town. It was just wiggling the doorknob. I don't know if it was trying to get in. I imagine if it wanted in, it would have came in, but it scared me enough to get the heck out of there. The thing scared me.
Esther is not alone. Many people have had experiences with Bigfoot. At a time when Bigfoot had all but been declared dead by the national media, reports and sightings continue to pour in. Physical evidence is mounting as more and more footprints are being found in out-of-the-way places. Occasionally, new photos will surface, and stories spread like wildfire across the internet of new sightings and findings. Along the way, Esther has gathered many sighting reports and stories of encounters with this elusive creature. In an effort to document her travels, Esther often videotapes her excursions and interviews eyewitnesses.
We heard this really wild yell, I don't know what you'd call it. It was something like I'd never heard before, ever, anywhere, period. And neither had they. And it ran up around us, it skirted around us and went up the hill, and it ran through the brush like a person, running down this trail. You could hear somebody running. But it was at night and we couldn't see because the mortar just went off, and we were all looking at the flash, and we heard that. We're like, whoa, what the hell was that? And Greg lit another one off, and we heard at least one more, and they were young ones down in the same spot where we heard the first sound. And when they hollered, the thing that ran by us ran right back down there as fast as it could go, right by us.
Wow.
And the girls got scared really bad, and they got in the car and was wanting us to leave, and we were wondering what in the hell that was, because we've all lived out here in this all our lives. Never seen anything or heard anything like that before. And then Greg put another one in and shoots it at him like that, and it went down by the trees and blew up, and they hollered one more time and went through the trees and was gone. We could hear them going through the trees, and we left too. When we went back up there the next day, you could see their trail through the fireweed that was growing, like you'd run through the tall grass. No real footprints to speak of except for where they mashed the grass down, and they were pretty good steps in between, bigger than we could jump, and I'm 6'1". It was, whatever it was had a pretty good stride.
We found 11 tracks altogether, printed this one, printed all 11, got cast of them. This one is 15 inches long, 7 inches wide. You can see the physical lines in it and everything. There was one tile print, approximately 4.5 to 5 inches long in the group. I've been basically looking for them for about 11, 12 years, and found several prints. I've seen 3 in my life.
One night, there was something that would make 2 taps on this side of me in the woods, and immediately it would be answered by 3 taps on this side of me, and that was making me a little nervous. And some people were telling me that might be how they drive a deer to a certain place to get ambushed. It drove me back to my vehicle. So in 2004, I was staying at a hunting cabin, and I was hearing some loud wood knocks. It was like a tree hitting a tree, and I heard some other sounds that went along with that. So I came back the next month and I put a game camera out with a motion sensor on it, and come to find out this motion sensor is not working right, because it should take a picture when something's about 20 or 25 feet away. And I got a picture of something that's right in front of the camera. And I have a picture of me in front of the camera the next day, because I realized they had taken a picture, and I'm waving my hand back in front of the camera to try to get it to go off. So I feel like I need to send it in and get it repaired just so I can document that it's not working right. But it captured a photograph, and it's just like all of the photographs of Bigfoot. It's a low-resolution photograph, but if you'll just be patient and try to look around what I think is the fingers of this thing as it's reaching out for the camera, its fingers are right in front of the lens, and when the flash went off, it just washed out all the detail and created a glare. But it's the shape of a finger. And if you'll look around that, you're going to see a female Sasquatch face, and there's a little juvenile there with her that's probably about this tall, and he's looking right at the camera. And I'm just glad to share that with anybody. I'm here to tell you, Bigfoot is real.
One night, just after dark, I heard a scream. I didn't know. I kept listening, and directly it's done it again. And directly it's done it again. And just I said, well, what is that? I never heard it in my life. I've been here all my life. And I got my light and I slipped around out there. And it screamed a few more times. And then I heard it run off. And it run off. It was a four-legged animal running off. I can tell one of them, like a deer or something. I could tell this was something. I didn't know what. But it run like a two-legged animal, like a man. It sounded like that. And I went on back to the camp, and we sat there, and directly he slipped back, and he squalled right there at us, just right there. And I got my light, couldn't shine no eyes, looked, and that grandson of mine was out in the trailer asleep, and he broke out of there. It scared him, and he got in the horse trailer and shut the door. I mean, he's scared. Of course, I didn't run or nothing. I was just trying to see what it was, and still didn't know what it was. Still don't.
Kind of tell the story that you found it?
Well, when I found this, it was up on a tree, like he'd rubbed his back, or whatever it was, it rubbed his back. And I gathered this up, and I give it some more to another guy. Who'd I give it to with him?
Oh, over in Honeby, we gave it to him.
Yeah, but he, I don't know, it's kind of different. If you feel it with your hand just a little bit there, you can tell it's something different about it, ain't it?
Yeah.
It's almost human, ain't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's almost human. You can tell that's not a bear. It ain't coarse like a bear.
Whew,
Yeah.
stinks.
Yeah, it stinks.
Wow, dang.
And I found it upon a tree. It's about 7-8 miles back in these mountains.
That stunk.
That's bad.
I took a whiff of that hair, and oh, God. It
I don't
smells
know.
bad.
I don't know what it is. But whatever it is, it stinks.
Me and my buddy Anthony went to visit my dad up in Chicago, and we were on our way back, and we stopped in Sulphur, Oklahoma, where my grandparents live. They got a little ranch in the Arbuckle Mountains. And we stopped there, and we were eating some brisket, and nobody was home. And we were going to stay there for the night because we've been driving a long way. And we walked out the front door, and it's pitch black. Can't see anything out there. And we were standing in the front yard, and on the side of the house where you can't see the driveway because it's a square house. And there's a floodlight over there. It's got a motion detector on it. And we were standing out here just looking at the darkness, and out of the corner of my eye, I see the floodlight come on the other side of the house. And I swung around and looked over there, and a red Bigfoot was hunched over, peeking around the house at us, right under the light. And right when it saw me, it ducked down and ran behind a car and jumped down this gully. We heard it slide down in the ditch, kind of like down there. And, oh man, I was scared. We jumped in the car, and I was yelling at my buddy to lock the door. He couldn't lock it fast enough for me. And we drove over there with the spotlight. We couldn't see anything, but anyway, after all that driving, I still drove all the way back to Houston. We didn't stay there that night. But next time we came up, we looked up at the floodlight, and the infrared sensor was poked out, and that floodlight doesn't work anymore. And there's nothing that could hit it. It's under an overhang, too high for me to reach.
When I first started, I was just usually carrying a disposable camera. That's all I could really afford. And I just kind of searched back roads. I was looking for trails, game trails, various formations, footprints, whatever. If I get on a road that looked interesting and there weren't any homes around or anything, I'd kind of walk in this game trail, walk up it for a little ways and see if I could see anything else, see if I can see any footprint. I've only found one good clear footprint, and I didn't have casting material at the time. And what I did was I had some fluorescent red spray paint and sprayed it, took a good picture of it, had something to measure it with. What I basically do is talk to some of the locals in the area and ask them if they've had any strange experiences, and what area they were at and stuff like that. A lot of people are very informative.
I'm a Vietnam veteran. I've seen different things that doesn't spook me too much. But one night before a front come in, I was deer hunting. I forgot my flashlight when I went out. It was cloudy, and I couldn't see this far in front of my face. But I had a little rise going up the mountain. I walked about halfway up, stumbling, falling down, and I found a big cedar tree off a trail. I sat down on the side. So I was waiting for light, and it took forever that day because of the cloudy and the front coming in. And all of a sudden I heard heavy steps coming down off the side of the mountain. I've been out and I've heard deer walk at night before you see them. Everybody that hunts know what I'm talking about. Or little animals, you can pick them out. But I couldn't figure what this thing was. And it's coming down the trail, and it kept getting closer and closer, and finally it was coming down so close, I threw my .30-06 off of safety, and I fixed to shove it through the trees. And I sat there, and the hair started climbing up on the back of my head. And so I thought, what should I do here? I don't like this. And I was fixing to shove it through and shoot. And I didn't, and it veered off on a rough, straight down drop off and walked on out. And I can't tell you what it was. I don't know.
Esther's contacts with Bigfoot were not isolated to Oklahoma. While working in Louisiana as a young adult, she and a friend had a harrowing encounter with something moving through the woods.
I went to work seismograph. We were in northwestern Louisiana, and I was brand new at that. I was probably 19. It's my first job in the seismograph field. We were based in Ruston, Arcadia, Louisiana, and they had me and another gal clean up lines. We had to pick up flagging and cover the shot holes, which it was a shot hole crew. They used dynamite. And we got to this private lake. This was probably near Homer, Louisiana. There was a private lake with a couple of cabins, and we went on deeper into brush and lowlands, and there's some places where it was I can't say it was swampy, but there was like an inch of stagnant water all through there. Hearing things to the side of us, like somebody was following us, or we both were kind of in denial, saying, well, and the further we got in, the thicker this stuff was, and it just seemed like it was getting closer. Finally got to a clearing, but there was like woods all the way around this clearing. We took a break. We discussed, if we thought we were being followed and stuff like that. And this other girl that worked with me, she always wore bright colors and a lot of heavy perfume and stuff, fancy. I thought, well, maybe the boss is watching us, making sure we're doing our job, and we just continued on after we rested some. We probably had about a mile to go, and it was thick woods. At least there was no more water, on the ground and stuff. Something just kept following us, and it seemed closer. And every once in a while, you'd hear like a heavy breath. And how with it being that area stunk anyway, it had a really bad musty odor through the area. And it's like, we started freaking. And then we heard the horn honk. The guy was supposed to meet us at the next clearing at the fence line. And we decided to blow off the flagging, not cover the shot holes, and we just started jogging, running, and we got within sight of the truck driver, and he turned around and his face just went flush white, and he yelled at us, said, "Hurry up and get your what's to the truck and don't look back." He says, "Run." We just took off running, and I was the one behind. We come to the fence, and it had been laid over for a long time, thank goodness, and we both just jumped over it, and we ran and jumped into the truck. And the truck driver had started up the truck about the same time as we got to the fence. And when we looked back in the woods, there was a figure, on two legs. It had to have been about 8.5, 9 foot tall, running back into the woods. And then we lost sight of it. It scared the truck driver so bad he peeled out of there, and he got that four-wheel drive stuck because the ground was moist in that area. We all stuck together and never really talked about it. From the time we were there in Louisiana, we were all just kind of glad to get out of Louisiana and went to Texas. There was a time where I had my cousin come down. He was a big burly biker. We sat on the mouth of Stillwater Creek and Cimarron River, and me and him were, mimicking coyotes that we heard off in the distance. And then we started mimicking the hootie owls, and it all got quiet for a while. Then all of a sudden we heard what sounded like, actual bare feet running down the mud, and it sounded like a pack of apes. It was just like the whoo, 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 all the way down Stillwater Creek area. He grabbed the spotlight and started running off that direction. He wanted to see what it was. He come back shortly. He said that he was a little over 6 foot tall, and he said that whenever he went past one of the trees, that something came out after, toward him that stood about a foot taller than him. We heard something slip and fall in the water, and it landed pretty hard, or jump into the water or something. And I moved up to the Pacific Northwest.
While living in the Pacific Northwest, Esther worked with Ray Crow and met with many other Bigfoot researchers. She was fascinated by the wealth of evidence they shared. Plaster casts of footprints found in out-of-the-way places, handprints, and hair samples were just some of the materials she studied. Along the way, she conducted her own research and met with eyewitnesses, all in an effort to understand the nature of the Bigfoot creatures that make their home hidden from society's view. Though today she still doesn't know what Bigfoot is, she's certain they do exist and that she has been very close to them. With more industry moving in and destroying Bigfoot's habitat, Esther is concerned for the creatures. It's her hope that one day man and Bigfoot can coexist.
It's really made my interest grow. I didn't know who to contact. The legend of Boggy Creek was the only foundation that I ever had. And then I ran into a friend of mine. It's been a little over 20 years. She lives in Coyle now, but we started hanging out in Perkins, Oklahoma, and going along the river. She had had sightings along the Cimarron River there, and we were walking along River Road there, and I took the blanket off of my son and was carrying him and laid it on the car. Whenever I got back, the blanket was gone, and it was nowhere to be found.
Esther's search for Bigfoot has taken her across America. She's lived throughout the Pacific Northwest, spending time researching and camping in Oregon, Idaho, and Washington State. In 2005, she returned to her home state of Oklahoma and now researches in Oklahoma and Arkansas. She's been a featured speaker at the International Bigfoot Society meetings hosted by Ray Crow. She's met with Peter Byrne and many other famous Bigfoot seekers, such as Bob Gimlin, who was with Roger Patterson when the famous Patterson-Gimlin film was shot in Northern California in 1967. Over the years, she's made many friends and continues to seek out individuals who share her interest in Bigfoot. A healthcare provider by profession, she's compassionate towards those who have had similar encounters. It's her drive to understand the creatures of the forest that keeps her going.
I have not had that much problems with people. I would say 7 out of 10 people will talk about it. I don't know if I'm right, running into the right people at the right time, or a draw of luck, or what. But, most people will. They'll tell me a story or something. Maybe I'm just in the right areas. I don't know.
I was laying in bed one night reading, and I could feel somebody looking at me, and I didn't pay it any mind. But then they just kept looking, and the awfulest scent I ever smelled. I can't describe the scent. Anyway, I finally got up and looked out, and I couldn't see anything, of course, so I laid back down and started reading again, and it came back to the window there. But I couldn't, it was dark out, and I had the light on in there, so I couldn't see nothing there. Anyway, that happened. We played cat and mouse game there for about 5 minutes. I get up and look, and they'd moved all the way. Finally, we come back. This happened for 2 or 3 nights. And the last night I told him, whatever it was, I said, you need a bath. You stink. It was an awful smell. And I haven't seen or heard of it since then.
And this happened, what,
About 30 years ago, I guess.
30 years ago, and you live out?
I live in the Stack community.
Like I was telling Esther, there was one time that it was about 20 years ago down there in San Joaquin Valley, and it's pretty flat land, it's all farmland. But there's this one park. It used to be a lot of live oak and valley oaks.
What's the name of the park?
Caswell Park. We heard something. It sounded like something threw something in the water, and it made a really loud splash. And there's beavers in there, and I thought, well, maybe it could be a beaver and he's slapping his tail or something. So we thought it was kind of odd, but well, we saw something, shoot out of the ground, you know, from a distance. It looked like, I couldn't tell how far away it was.
Talking about UFOs? Or?
Yeah, I guess so. And it split like that, and it just, like, that. I thought that was odd, and I don't know if that correlated, you know, with that, but my friend said he went back there about 3 weeks later.
And this in 1985?
Oh, it's probably, yeah, around then, yeah. And he said he went there with his nephew, and it was in the daytime, and something was throwing rocks across the river, and they were landing at their feet, maybe about 75 to 100 feet. When Jason Valente brought those sounds, and I started thinking about this too. I remember being camping up in Yosemite before, and I could, in the 70s, and I can remember it sounded like I was hearing those kind of sounds in the far, far distance.
But I was in the Pacific Northwest for 17, 18 years before I moved back here to Oklahoma. I've lived here in Oklahoma for almost 2 years again. And most of the people that I've met here in Oklahoma, I've met online and then through friends. I've also ran into the friend that I used to run around with and research with 20 years ago. I think it's basically the same type of creature, but it's the adaptability. You know, you got the Pacific Northwest, everything seems bigger, so it's bigger. And then there's just a very few that you have the aggressive. And then down here, they seem to be more aggressive. I don't know if it's because they get, humans are more aggressive toward them, more afraid, or the heat, the bugs, I don't know.
The general consensus among Bigfoot seekers is that only a physical body or specimen will convince the world that Bigfoot do exist. This realization has caused some division within the Bigfoot community, as many enthusiasts do not want a Bigfoot killed. Bigfoot hunters insist that a body is necessary to establish the animal's existence, so then it can be protected. There is no clear answer to this dilemma. Photographs and film, eyewitness testimony, and plaster casts of footprints is not enough evidence to establish the existence of an undiscovered animal.
I don't know. In a way, I kind of hope it doesn't get solved. You know, because you've got these groups that want to kill one, and I'm not sure if I'm all for that. I'm kind of neutral about that. You know, I know that it's going to take a body, but I have a feeling it's maybe, I'm trying to think of a word for it, that it may cause more trouble than what it's worth. I think I have my own style, you know. I think when people get famous into this field, they let it go to their head, maybe, or they get a little bit too confident. Something. I kind of prefer to stay low key. I like to meet new people. I like to see their efforts into the Bigfoot. I guess you don't have to be real professional anyway, because if Bigfoot wants you to see it, he's going to be there to make an appearance.
In 2006, while researching in Oklahoma, Bigfoot may have made his appearance to Esther. On a friend's property in East Oklahoma, while videotaping an area where Bigfoot has been seen and reported often, Esther had the chance opportunity to record something not far from her camera. While taping, she caught movement out of the corner of her eye.
I saw movement.
She zoomed her camcorder towards where she had seen the motion, only to see nothing. However, after further examination of her tape, the distinct and obvious movement of something humanoid can clearly be seen on the edge of her frame. The footage you are seeing now is Esther's record from that day. These enhancements attempt to clarify the motion of something standing to the far left of the frame. Though this footage is too distant for an absolute determination of what is there, you can clearly see that there is movement of something dark and bipedal in this footage.
It's way off yonder. I don't know what that was down there. I saw movement. It's way off yonder. Yeah, I don't know what that was down there. I saw movement. It's way off yonder. Yeah, it wasn't what I thought.
I don't know what's out there. You know, that mystery. You know, what's coming up into the camp. I'd like to be able to continue to, you know, go out and study and, you know, I'm hoping to find my own little hotbed area and be able to sit and do some study of it, you know. If these things are able to be friendly, and if I have the courage enough to try to communicate and be friends, if there is that, you know, I don't know if these things are, you know, you get the reports and sighting reports. I have not been hurt. I have not been attacked. As far as I know, these things are just curious about us humans. But yeah, I still have that sense of fear. Sometimes I am. I'm a big fraidy cat, you know. And there's days, nights, where I'm out and I just get this really, really bad feeling in the pit of my gut, and I follow my instincts. I said, I don't think this is going to be a good day to be out. So I leave the area. I don't know, I guess it's the rush of it. Everybody has a thrill-seeking adventure, you know, and I've also tied in some treasure hunting and rock hounding to go with, you know, because everybody needs an alternate hobby, I guess. You know, I'm not going to let this overcome me like it has some folks.